When's your podcast coming out?
Oh, I assume you mean like a Godmode podcast?
I mean, what should I eat with Brendan Hutchins?
I like that.
Yeah, because the reason I thought of that is having listened to the gentleman that you sent,
Dr. Jamadas.
Dr. Pradeep Jamadas.
Yeah.
What I like about your approach is the curation and exploration of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's deliberately not well, I might be putting words in your mouth here, but for me, it's like not saying I have the answers, but
I'm investigating. And
you can be along for the ride.
You can be along
here's
for
what
the
I'm
ride.
finding.
Yeah.
Here's what this, tells me, and that's cool.
Yeah, man. That's really great. I love that. And January.
There is the easy way to make this, and there is the hard way to make this.
Okay.
The easy way to make this is you pick a video, or you pick an article, or you pick a blog post, and then you discuss it with someone. Yeah. The hard way to do it is you write a piece.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And having spent a day doing that, I'm basically trying to write a TED Talk a week, which is 2,500 words.
Dude, people write a TED Talk a lifetime,
Oh yeah, I'm not going for the quality of it.
No, I understand.
But yeah, certainly length.
Yes.
There's a guy who does 2,500 words a day.
What?
It's called Everything Everywhere Daily.
All at once. He's
been doing that since the pandemic, and he's on episode 1,024 or something.
What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck is right. Anyway, that aside.
Amazing.
There's that version, which is just the filtered through the Brendan machinery. Mm-hmm. Or, like I said, you do the easier version, which I don't know if it ends up sounding like maintenance phase, which I've heard a lot about but I haven't seen.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Maintenance phase.
Definitely take a look. I don't know if this is all of it. I don't know if it's the entire premise of the show, but certainly the first season was debunking diet shit.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Yeah. It's just, I can't believe we never brought it up before. But as I was walking back today, I thought about maintenance phase and thought, it's got a pear and something on the cover. I think they might have moved on to other stuff, but certainly I know it began by talking about, diet stuff. So yeah, Dr. Pradeep, fasting. I was very close to being there. And then he said you can grow new brain cells. And I was like, the fuck? You say?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I spent 2 to 3 years vaping the hell out of THC to cope with, to allow myself to get through the process of killing all the mold in my sinuses. Oof. And dealing with the chronic fatigue and the fibromyalgia and pain. And it was I was using recreational weed as a medicinal thing, because getting the medical card, it was going to be too particular and stuff for I wanted more flexibility. Anyways, THC has many benefits, but it does kill brain cells. And I was very, of two minds about it.
I've got my hand up.
Yes, Mark, you have a question.
Specifically on that. Uh-huh. If we're talking about debunking ancient or old science, I don't know if this one is if I have this correct, but I know a lot of the information we have around how weed rots the brain was based on a study that was done in the 50s or the 60s, where they got chimps to ingest weed and then saw that it caused brain death.
Yeah, and also there's been a lot of restrictions around using weed because it's been illegal in so many places, especially the US, where a lot of studies are done. So yeah, there was a big limit on the amount of studies, but that has been...
But the chimp thing, the important thing about the chimp thing...
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
They didn't give them oxygen with the weed.
What?
That's why they died, is they put masks on them and only gave them the THC. They didn't also feed them oxygen. That's why them died. Yes.
That's insane.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And that is what a lot of science, quote unquote, has been based on. That's the one of those that I know.
Yeah.
And heard about 10 years ago. I think it was Wired covered it. And
Oh yeah.
So-
well, that's fucking horrific and barbaric.
Yeah.
And we don't have to rely on that study anymore. There are new studies. The
But
latest
that was like the basis that,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
things came
Yeah.
from. But yeah. Anyway.
The latest Kirkzakt video is actually about weed and the new research that's been coming out. And it reconfirms that, yes, this does affect your brain cells. You should not have it in your teens. You should have it in your 20s and later for developmental reasons.
Interesting.
And
Because of course you're still
it's-
developing. Yeah.
It's kind of fine to have in limited quantities, but don't become a chronic user of it and that kind of thing. For
Are we still
all three
saying
reasons.
alcohol is worse?
Oh yes,
you then.
and they said
Yeah,
it too.
yeah.
No,
Yeah, I thought
it's
they would.
by far. Yeah, they mentioned that multiple times in the video. They're like, if you're going to pick something, weed is a better choice, but know the risks, know what you're getting into. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
which I
need to
couldn't
get a
agree
guy
more.
again. I had a guy who was in fact a girl, and they're only over the road from me. I need to. I don't. I'll have to see if I've still got their number because I should. Although I stopped because I got found out because apparently I don't know about this, but I had to put two and two together. The smell of the vape, me vaping it, was apparently noted, and there was a, and
that's
that's
suspicious.
yeah. So it might have been other people, but I'm not going to roll that die again. So I might go out and do my vapage.
I would use my PAX vape pen right next to Margaret, and she wouldn't know that I was vaping.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So
I
Probably, yeah.
used it in the symphony. I used it in a lot of places where definitely not allowed, and nobody seemed to notice or care.
yeah, I recorded one episode of Beware of the Leopard while I was high.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
How'd it go? Was it a good episode?
It was all right. I think I was able to behave myself.
Nice.
I think I might have had more than one stumblings as usual.
How many-
Or more stumblings than the usual.
How many did you record while tipsy or drunk?
We always recorded, like, progressively got drunker throughout the records. Almost.
yeah.
I don't know if we ever did. I don't know if we ever finished an episode of Beware of the Leopard sober.
Yeah.
We certainly might have started it sober. Well, some of us.
Yeah,
I mean, this was the podcast where one of our number was weeing in the beer bottle he just drunk from so that we could carry on without him going to the toilet.
It's, it's efficient. It's
if nothing else.
a service. Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back on track.
So yeah, when I watched the Dr. Gymnatus video and he said that about healing the brain or creating new brain cells, I was like, oh fuck yes! Like this cost benefit analysis that I've been running like all this time, feeling like I feel like I kind of need this weed to be able to get through this process, but I don't like the fact that I'm damaging myself, but I don't really see another option. That worry and that stress was kind of put to the side a bit. And I'm like, this isn't going to be a panacea. It doesn't mean everything's fine now, but there is at least an option I can work on and maybe undo some of this damage I'm doing in order to get through this process. And I would say in my experience, rather, of using fasting for my own health, I feel like I have regained some brain capacity, and not just because I'm not high 24/7 anymore, but I feel I'm more with it and I have more capacity. Yeah, so I co-sign that crazy claim.
Mm-hmm. So I've got to
cool.
pick a fasting day.
Nice. So you're gonna do what's your game plan? Are you going for like a 1 day fast to start out? Or are you starting 24 hours?
Yeah.
Nice.
Go 24 hours.
Yeah. What I'd like to do is you plan to start a small goal, 24 hours, and then you at that point, like, you decide you can decide before you make the meal, like, am I really hungry? Sure. Do I need it? Yeah. I've already done 24. Maybe I could do 36 or 24 or 48. What are the numbers? Keep going another half day, or sleep on it and do it in the morning, or you wake up in the morning, you're not that hungry, and wait until lunch, and just keep going until you really feel like, okay, I'm not feeling great or whatever. Mm-hmm. My strong recommendation is have a pill bottle of activated charcoal, which is a binder. and it binds to pretty much anything. So beans, and the fiber in beans binds to fats. Activated charcoal binds to like almost everything else. And what can happen is when you're fasting, especially early on and you haven't had a lot of practice with it, you can start to release toxins that are held in your fat cells because you're starting to burn some fat. And then those toxins are now in your system again. And the activated charcoal will both bind to those and get them out of your system, as well as act as a kind of a stomach soother and a calmingness to that.
Yes.
So it's good stuff.
Okay.
Pro tip.
That's an excellent pro tip. Speaking of ingesting things that aren't food, I was horrified to learn that we've been eating cotton.
Which thing is cotton?
He was talking about in the first talk. This is again, Dr. Pradeep was talking about the vegetable oils.
Oh,
that
yeah.
were made from crushed up seeds that were a byproduct of cotton production. If I have that correct, and that's insane.
It is insane
because that they sold it to the petrochemical companies first, and they were like, "Yep, cool."
Yep.
But we've still got more. And so we'll go, cool, we'll feed it to humans. And I think I sort of knew some of that from the ultra-processed people guy. Yeah. I think that might have come up. But like he followed a direct line there that I feel like was new to me. And that was just like, oh, yeah, no, this isn't food. I mean, no. The horrible thing is olive oil is the most expensive flipping thing in the world at the moment. It's like gold.
Yeah.
Whereas vegetable oil, so much less expensive. I'd never bought tons of it, but I ended up getting a bottle and I'm like, yeah, no. It's not food.
If you look if you watch like a YouTube video on the process of how they produce vegetable oils, anything except for avocado oil and olive oil, from what I understand, it is so disgusting, so gross. They have to go through like, I don't remember all the chemicals they use, but they a chemical wash to extract things, and then this high heat process to change it another way, and then they use a solvent to get rid of that that first chemical, and then they use a different chemical to get it into another thing, and then they high heat that, and like do that over and over and over again. It's sickening. Bonkers. It's so gross.
It's just, to me, it's just bonkers. It's just the amount of processing. Like, who? Why? It's such a strange idea to be like, let's take this one thing and let's just do so much to it that it is completely indistinguishable from the thing that it was.
Yeah.
Because it can be chum. It's slop that we could just feed to the masses, feed at the masses.
Yeah.
It's, oh my God, it's bonkers.
Yeah. It's insanity.
Speaking of food.
Yeah.
What's your take on marshmallows?
Oh, okay. Marshmallows.
Like
so the marshmallow, the edible substance is delicious. I actually had some tiny marshmallows in a hot chocolate I was given at a bonfire ceremony after the Trump re-election, where we all wrote down our grievances on little scraps of paper and read them aloud and tossed them into a fire, and we all chanted "fuck that" after each thing.
Oh, I love that.
It was really great. It was really cathartic. And the tiny marshmallows in this hot chocolate with a little bit of cayenne pepper on top was fucking just dope.
Cheeky.
But I realize it's not food. It's
it's
a mouth party that has repercussions.
Well, what do you know about the marshmallow experiment?
Oh, yes. So the marshmallow experiment, as I remember it, was a sadistic trick played on kids. No, it wasn't that bad, but it was kids in a study were given a marshmallow and then were told to wait while the person doing the study left the room for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, however long, an amount of time. And when the kids were told, if you don't eat the marshmallow, you can have a second marshmallow when I come back. Yeah, it was supposed to say something about kids' not attention spans, but delayed gratification.
It's delayed gratification. They followed up with the kids in this study into adulthood and found that the kids who resisted the marshmallow were less prone to all sorts of sort of maladaptive behaviors. And much better at making long-term decisions, as you might imagine. Tended to be smarter. Resisted things like alcoholism and propensity to weight gain more than the kids that didn't.
Yeah. And then there was a reanalysis of that study later on. And I think another study, the study was repeated later with different guidelines or intentions. And it was found that the kids that came from lower socioeconomic households were the ones that did not delay gratification, that took the marshmallow because they didn't trust that they were going to be able to get that extra marshmallow. And
so you end up then with a false correlation between intelligence and income.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I was interested as I was reading a book about long-term thinking, which ended up being a bit meh, which was a shame. I thought it would be more helpful than it was, but it had some okay bits in it. But it talked about that experiment, and I was wondering what you as a child would have done versus you as an adult. And I was thinking about the same because I'm pretty sure both of us would say we as adults would be able to resist and hold out and get a second marshmallow like a good boy. Yeah. You were a smart kid. You've grown up to be a smart adult.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have resisted?
Interesting question. It's really hard to answer.
Because I'll be honest, having thought about it, I don't think I would, but I think I would have rationalized. I think I would have come up with a very smart reason why I should take the marshmallow now. I think that's what would have happened, is I would have absolutely eaten the marshmallow. I would have deliberated over it in the span of a couple of minutes. Yeah. And I would have given myself a really good reason, really solid reason why I should take the marshmallow now. And I would have taken the marshmallow now.
I'm kind of wondering what age the kids were and how long they were told to wait. And
I think it was something like 15 minutes.
Was it 15 minutes? Okay. And were they accurate on their time? Did they actually come back at 15 minutes or did they come back at like a half an hour?
No, that's a good question. I think that would probably muddy the waters if they did. Because then you were testing different things. Yeah, for sure. Okay. I think it was done in good faith.
Assuming they said 15 minutes and they came back at 15 minutes and I don't know, like a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, 10-year-old?
Somewhere like that. I think 5 to 7.
Man, it's so hard to say. I've lost a lot of my memory from that time period from a variety of reasons, mostly I think the mold, but also trauma. Yeah, I don't know. My gut says I would wait. Now answering is like, yeah, I know I could wait. That wouldn't be difficult. But like, there's also a part of me that's like, do I want to even be presented with the second marshmallow? Or should I just eat this one now so that I can only have one? So it's a self-limitation thing. So it's like kind of thinking about it backwards.
I think to do the test in its bestest form, we have to pick something that to us as adults would feel irresistible.
Yeah. Oh.
Like there's no way I can't have this. So yeah. I thought it was interesting.
A bowl of barbecue pulled pork from Matt's Barbecue here in Portland, Oregon. If you gave me,
there you go.
If you gave me one bowl of that and said, if I wait 15 minutes, I get another one, I wouldn't touch that bowl because fuck, I want to. Holy shit.
Yeah. You give me a good burrito.
Chimichanga.
Then we got a challenge.
Dude. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Then we got a challenge.
Oh, I'm so excited to take you around Portland and feed you all the best foods, dude. Oh my god.
Well, I'm sort of looking forward to the week ahead because I'm moved into my new co-working space.
Nice.
My old co-working space, and I had a lovely moment tonight where I was like, I feel like I ramped. I heard the 1-up sound, or I heard the sound of like Sonic when he picks up a coin.
Ba-ding.
Yeah,
ba-ding,
like
ba-ding.
It wasn't a full level up. It wasn't an extra life, but I definitely heard a bidding achievement. there was a cleaner there, lovely woman who recognized me and called me by name, and we had a brief conversation, and it was very warm and very lovely. And I left and I walked, and then I stopped and I went, I don't know her name.
Oh no.
And I turned around and I said, I'm so sorry. You know my name. I don't know yours. What's your name? And she told me her name. And I finished the conversation. And it was one of those where I was just like,
that's wonderful.
Human point.
Yeah.
I want a human point. I humaned in a very sort of grown up, like almost charismatic in my, like, you have the upper hand, you know, you have the advantage of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't know your name. And yeah, like it was nice.
That's awesome.
Felt nice. I also made a promise to myself, which I've very much reneged on, which is I really wanted to see, and I've managed 27 minutes, probably a lot less. I really wanted to see how long I could go without saying I or talking about myself.
Wow. Yeah, I'm impressed. On this, I felt the difference. I honestly, I
hate that.
I don't mean that negatively, dude.
No, I'm sure you don't, but I hate that.
Oh no, you did a great job, and there was nothing wrong beforehand. Oh, Mark.
I received a note.
You did not. No.
No. From someone else. I received a note.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And it wasn't about this, but it was like, it was enough of one of those. I was like, here's a thing I do.
Oh no.
So the fact that you noticed the difference, I'm like, fuck. Okay, anyway.
I mean, you were just right out of the gate. You're like, what do you think about this? And what
I mean, I had that even without this little thing, like, because I want to talk about you and to you about this whole thing. Yeah.
So you mentioned that book that you were thinking about long-term goals. That reminds me of something that's starting today as we record this. I know that we have been off of our TBM game for a while, but I don't know if you're still subscribed to it or not, but they are...
That's a good question.
They're starting their authenticity challenge right now.
I've got too much of that. I don't need any more of that.
Well, okay. The way that they describe the challenge, based on what you told me about what you're working on, your dreams and goals coming up, this feels to me like the exact thing that could help with that. Like, it's not finding your true authenticity and like putting the blocks in place to achieve that in the next 3 to 9 months. And I think, if you are still subscribed and you have an interest in trying it out, Billy and I and Margaret are all jumping on this one again, and it could be fun.
All right, I dig it. I'm not going to talk about my plans publicly because that would be incredibly uncharismatic. But yes, like, one does not discuss that as a plan to the world. But that is a thing that would be interesting to have a play with manifesting.
Yeah.
Especially as I'm feeling in a good place for it.
Awesome.
Like I'm feeling like I'm getting back on my shit, Brendan.
Yes. Yeah, I see it. I see that energy in you. Yeah. And so
I feel some pep in my step today.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
I think being among people.
Yes.
Even not having to necessarily interact. I think there's I know there are chemicals involved in, being in communion with other people and just being in the same room, and like I got loads of stuff done and it was just fucking great.
When you're in your co-working space, is it quiet enough to record a podcast?
No.
Oh, is it like a big shared office, a big shared room? Okay, yeah.
There's one guy who's really loud. He doesn't shout. He's just got an incredibly loud voice. Who every night, he doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, it's like, fuck me. And this is coming from me. He is louder than I am. I'm actually quite reserved when I'm in the space. It's this voice. It's the down here voice. They've also got, which is new since the last time I was there, they've got pods. And I used one this morning. You book them out for a certain amount of time, and they're pretty well sealed. And so you can just sit in there and close the thing, and it's actually pretty decent. It sounds a little bit like a cupboard. So it wouldn't be, like I wouldn't record an audiobook in it.
Sure.
But it does seal you off and then stops you annoying other people as well. So yeah. But the great revelation for me, and the thing that I'm excited about, it's very silly, is for ages I was like, I want to come back to this space. They don't offer I used to be in a room. They used to have a room or an office space that 2 or 3 of us rented. It was great because then it's just like you've got your own space, you've got a permanent desk, the stuff lives there. It's great. They don't do that anymore since.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, I want to come back because people. And I turned up yesterday and got a little bit of a tour, and yes, it's most things are the same. And then I saw a guy with a bunch of monitors, like 3 monitors. Like he's got to be some sort of coder. And then someone else, and I'm like, they got monitors. Why do they got monitors? How do they got? And I chatted to one of them. I was like, what's the deal? Because I'd emailed them before to be like, I want to be able to have a permanent, it doesn't have to be a permanent desk, but can I leave? And they're like, no, not really. Okay. So
maybe they brought it in with them.
I think in the end, it's the need to be among people kind of outweighed what it would do to my back by hunching over a laptop.
Speaking of what it would do to your back, maybe they haul in their monitors every time they come in.
That could be. Yeah, I did think of do they drive and then they're just bringing in their monitors, and that would be a thing. But no, one of them says no. They've got a cupboard. They've got cupboards now.
Oh wow!
And
okay,
you can just ask, can we use the cupboard? And the woman showed me the cupboards, and
so you can't leave it on the desk, but you can hide it away in a lockbox. Nice. Well, that's cool.
So that's new, and it was one of those things because it showed what a good sort of positive mind frame I was in, because I was like, the thought I was had is you all could have had my money way sooner if you'd have thought, because the conversation would be better if you'd have kept that on file somewhere or popped a little note somewhere and been like,
we know about this.
There was a guy kept asking, can we, I would have been in here way sooner. But you know what? Gratitude.
Yes.
It exists now. I'm happy now. So yeah, monitors arriving, bringing that in. Yeah, it feels like everything's coming up Stedman.
Nice, dude. Where'd you buy your monitors from?
Don't do it. Don't do it to me. Don't do that to me.
Just kidding.
I'm doing my best here, dude.
Oh, I know you are. There's too many things.
I bought a new coffee machine. I didn't buy it from Amazon.
Nice. What coffee machine did you get?
Oh, it's just one of the little pod things. Reason being, they have the pod thing. I did think about this as well. I could steal pods from the co-working space. Who would know? But the reason being, it would now, because I'm not going to be here 5 days out of 7. I could get a lot more kitchen real estate back by having a much slimmer thing, because I'll be using a lot less coffee because the coffee's free there. So I'm like, oh, do that. And then I was looking into, because I care, Brent. Because I care. I was looking at, I discovered you can buy the metal reusable pods and you fill them with grounds.
Yes, that's the way to do it, bro.
Yeah, which is still very much an option. Feels like a bit of work, but better for the environment, or at least, at the very least, I've got to figure out the recycling situation here.
Yeah, and fresher beans
can be recycled.
Yeah. You're more likely to have mold-free beans, as we talked about before. They'll taste better. So yeah, that's the way to go. Yeah.
So
love it.
There you
go. Dude, I don't know if these ads have been coming up for you on YouTube or not, but on a variety of different sources or intended videos, these completely AI generated women talking, a fake, an AI woman talking to the screen about what I assume are boner pills, and how my 65-year-old man can please me like a 20-year-old, and this kind of bullshit in this very slightly robotic voice, and saying this very poorly written script. It is just the most disgusting thing. I can't That's all I have. It's so fucking gross.
Yeah. No,
I have
I'm with
no
you.
words.
There is a solar panel company. I can't remember if I talked about them before. I feel like I might brought them up because I was similarly just like dumbfounded and kind of disgusted that cloned Donald Trump's voice and used it to sell solar panels in the UK. Like, I was flat. I was like, you know, you can't do that. Like, that's not. You're not allowed to do. Like, you know that.
Yeah.
How did it make its way? And it's just like, you have to remember there are no grown-ups in the world anymore.
No.
There are no, if there ever were, there are no grown-ups. No one's in charge. No one's in charge.
No.
So it just, of course, it just goes through a system because no one's checking, no one's looking. And it was just like, it's such a schoolboy thing. You can't do that. And they're doing it.
Yeah.
But that said, I did clone. Sorry. I did clone Dwight D. Eisenhower's voice this week.
But you're not using it to sell anything.
No, I used it. I used it to get him to say words that he's on record of saying.
There you go.
But we don't have a recording of them.
Hey, that's a good use.
I thought so too.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
there's
really
this
cool.
famous thing that the Eisenhower Matrix comes from, and it's a one comment he made in a speech, and it's like one little sentence that he gave to the like College of Churches or something somewhere. Couldn't find a recording of it. Did find another recording of it. Doopy doopy doo. It sounds fucking great.
Amazing. What did you use to clone the voice?
11 Labs.
11 Labs.
Which is one of these. It's the first one I'd heard of 2 years ago, in fact, I think. It also makes me sound Australian. It doesn't understand my particular English accent. So it just always makes me sound slightly Australian. But it got this, it got Eisenhower bang on. Like, it's...
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I mentioned to you a couple weeks back that I used character.ai to clone my dad's voice based off of his second to last voicemail message that he left me. Yeah, it was, it's a little bittersweet. I haven't yet gone into it and like given it actual details about him or what he's like or anything like that. So it wasn't super much like him, but it was kind of his voice. Yeah, it was kind of trippy. You had asked if I had like feels coming up from it, and not too much. He and I, especially later years, weren't really close, and I don't even know. Like I feel like there should be something that I want to talk to him about and ask him and stuff, and I don't really even know. So that's why I haven't gone back to it and like really expanded more on it yet. But I think I will at some point. It seems like an interesting task to set for oneself.
Oof. What do you think you would ask?
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Well, you see, this is the thing. The question is not necessarily what do you want to ask. The question might be
what do I want to tell him? Oh, interesting.
What do you want to tell him? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because as soon as I ask the question, what do I want to ask him? Or if you ask me that question, I think, well, the AI isn't going to know what he is going to say. It's just using his voice and a predictive algorithm of other stuff. Yeah. What do I want to tell him? That's a bit more interesting. What do I want to feel? That's super interesting. And
because I could imagine a world where, and I don't know, your situation, and I'm lucky enough that I've had parents that told me they love me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not everyone's experience.
I've only ever heard my dad loves me through other people. Like my mother-in-law is like, oh, your dad loves you so much. I'm like, okay.
It'd be nice to hear that.
It'd be nice to hear that from him. And my mom said that too. And it's just like, okay, that's cool, but that's his job.
Yeah.
Anyways,
and so
go ahead.
It would be an interesting experiment to see how that feels, knowing, because I suspect you can know that it's like empty calories, if you like, but it may still do the same thing to your brain as hearing him actually say it.
Yeah.
I think both things can be true. I think you can know that it's artificial, but you can also still potentially derive comfort from that. Maybe.
Yeah.
And there's utility in that.
Mm-hmm. Like soothing oneself with a Coke Zero.
Fuck you. What do you mean defensive? Yeah.
So I proclaim in a transition that men are the problem and men are the solution to that problem. I had a conversation.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. All of them.
Okay. Okay. Settling back. Here we go.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with Margaret and a friend a few days ago, right before that bonfire party, and three kind of threads emerged from our conversation. First, she was talking about dating, and this was a bisexual or pansexual person who had recently been on dates with both men and women. And she noticed a stark difference between how those dates went. And the men just talked about themselves, didn't ask questions, felt really bolstered by her, felt a strong connection because they felt heard by her, and were like really super eager to repeat that catharsis, repeat that event with her and date and get more of that of what they got from it, not giving at all to her. And then when she went on a date, on multiple dates with other women, she, upon later reflection, realized she was able to get what the men got from her. She got from the dates with other women. She was talking about herself. She felt a really great connection, and there may have been more of a back and forth, or it may have been one-sided. I'm not sure, but like she realized, like, oh, this is what they feel when they have a date with me. And like, I'm able to connect with this person because they're more emotionally mature and they're more like present and available, and they're not just stuck in themselves. And I thought that was all super interesting. Then we kind of got on to the election stuff, and there's to me, there's so many factors at play in why the election went the way it did, and why it does over and over again. And I haven't really taken enough notes or articulated all of the reasons why I think this, but men have taken power and used that taken power to keep themselves in power for so long. And then there's the men of the nation that want to think that they can also achieve that power and follow in line with the people that they see are like them because they are little children. And so for me, I personally blame. I see the correlation between men's actions and the election results from this year and many years past. And then there was a third thread. Our friend was telling us a story about her on Instagram DMing with another woman who she, was just giving a compliment to because of some of her posts and calling stuff out and being an ally and everything. It may have been to her, may have been to one of her friends. Anyway, she was DMing on Instagram. It wasn't a public post. And she said something, this isn't exactly what she said, but it was something akin to, oh, we should run off and be lesbians together. And she used like a little skull face, a skull emoji for other reasons, I guess. It was all kind of within the same thing. And Instagram gave her an automated message within the DM screen to watch what she's saying, to not use inciting language, and like to use Instagram as a peaceful platform, and what it was like calling is like, be warned, you might get banned if you aren't using your proper language and being kind and this kind of thing. And I'm like, that bot that just interrupted a private conversation inappropriately, not just because it's a private conversation interrupting, but also inappropriately as in it was done wrong. It didn't get the context right. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure that was written by a dude.
If I might just, when it comes to what might be determined advocating for the devil, I often want to do that not because I want to be the advocating for the devil guy, but because, and I heard this actually put well recently. Oh, it was actually about, very brief tangent, it was about the idea of the plastic island in the ocean in the middle of the Atlantic, which is not true. It's apparently not true. It's basically a metaphor that it doesn't show up on Google Maps. It's not there. There are microplastics and there are other things. There is not a plastic island twice the size of Texas.
Oh my God, no.
But that is a common thing that people say. And but the point he was making the video, Alex Falcone, I think is the guy's name, was that when you get things wrong in that way, it harms your argument because if your interlocutor doesn't believe that because it's not true,
right?
Even though you've said it in good faith, even though you've said it because you're on the side of the angels, it then means, well, I can't really trust anything you say then because you're lying, but because you might be wrong. And so that's why I'm playing this role now, not because I want to be a dick, but because
that's a great
helps bolster the thing.
Yeah, definitely.
My thinking is it's just the use of the skull emoji rather than it be a lesbian thing. Now, there may be a correlation between the word lesbian and the symbol, the skull emoji, and maybe there's a weird, miscorrelation there, and then the bot needs to be better at that.
And I don't know.
I don't necessarily think it's unwoke in that sense.
And I don't mean woke as in acceptable of lesbians. And also, I don't know if it was the use of the term lesbian or the skull emoji or something entirely different that was, but it was, regardless of all of that, it was inappropriate to, because she was not using that kind of language. She was not, it was the exact opposite. It was a thank you. It was a peaceful message. But
yeah, the idea of a robotic interjection is not cool.
Yeah. And like, actually, where I thought you were going with this is that, like, I don't know for a fact that it was written by a man, but with the amount of men in tech and how,
I'm happy to co-sign on that one.
Yeah,
but also I would say, I bet you there is not an engineer at Meta who could tell you why it made that decision.
Sure.
Because so many of these things are black boxes now. And it will be all sorts of signals that have come up that then go into like a score, a harm score or some bullshit.
Right.
And it just tipped over a threshold.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's because the signals are faulty. And like a bot needs to exist to protect people who need protecting. But also, like a bot coming up and going, and wagging its finger, especially when it's just getting it so wrong. It's like, I'll read the room bot.
Read the room bot. So, those three stories within that conversation, like, to me, I just saw this through line so clearly that men need to wake up. But Pin, like, and when I say wake up, I mean like work on themselves and find emotional maturity and be aware of other people that exist in the world. Little things. But there's a bigger issue than that. Because, I mean, for one thing, the perspective I'm coming from, how I see it, it's not their fault. It's their problem. It's their responsibility. And they are failing to live up to their responsibility up until this point. But it's not their fault. Boys within the greater society of the world, and especially the Western culture, boys are not given the tools that they need when they're young to grow up to be mature men. And then the tools are not also given to them by default within society, like they are for women. Girls are coming up into a society that's run by men, that has been goes through with rules that are created by men, and they have to adapt in order to survive. Boys have a lot more privilege and have a lot more ease, and they're not challenged, so they don't face that challenge and grow from it. They just keep skating by because they can, and they get passes, and they coast on never needing to grow. A girl realizes super quick that there are dangers, that there are rules, that there are costs to doing certain things and putting oneself out.
It goes back to that thing that I'm going to wildly misquote of a man's greatest fear of a woman is that she'll laugh at him. A woman's greatest fear of a man is that he'll kill her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And men can't face the challenge of being laughed at. They need to be laughed at and realize that it wasn't so bad to be laughed at. Maybe change, and then you wouldn't be so laughable. Like.
Mm.
And so, what I'm advocating for is better parenting is like the short version of it.
Well, there is
programs for young children to be able to learn the skills of growth and maturity. Not for young children, but like age appropriately, but like teenagers and 20-year-olds, that they learn to see other people as individuals and that we're all in this together, that kind of thing.
There is a specific thing that I'm going to try and find out, because I'm very lucky that one of the podcasts that I edit, which is called Peripheral Thinking, has it's all about the ideas on the periphery, on the edges, the things that aren't necessarily talked about. Sujith Ravindran is a gentleman that was interviewed for an episode that went out, actually it was only January this year, about the missing initiation of boys. So
yes,
the fact that we don't have, as other cultures do, in the West, we don't have initiation. We don't have that coming of age. You are a man.
Yeah.
These are your responsibilities. These are the things you need to take care of and be mindful of. Women are, I think, as you said, initiated into a world that's like, it feels like, and this is maybe a false, I'm not a woman, this is not my experience.
Yep.
But it feels like there is a moment at which a mother has to sit her daughter, or a father has to sit her daughter down and say, you're about to go off into the big, wide, scary world. Fucking, and I'm going to be incredibly glib here as a way of moving us through it, but like, and incredibly insensitive, but like, here's your mace, here's your rape whistle.
Yeah.
Here's the number to call when shit goes south. Like, it almost feels like that there is a level to which that education is happening. And there isn't the moment where the dad sits, or the mum sits the dude down and goes,
you have a responsibility.
Hey, don't rape women. Like, hey, there's your first start. Hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's okay if a woman doesn't want to have sex with you. There's number two. Like, all these different things.
Yeah.
And myriad other things, and not to do with sex, and not even necessarily to do with men and women and those dynamics.
Yeah.
But yes, an initiation for both sides into adulthood, to say, like, yeah, you are now, and you now have responsibilities. You now have, because that gets me on a bit of a, I don't know if I'm on this high horse, but it's definitely a horse that is somewhere and it's mountable.
Ooh.
I can see the stirrups, about the younger generation, the youth today. And people said this of millennials, and I think falsely, because people just say it about the next generation. But it feels like, to me, there is a generation in between millennials and I think what's coming up now, or who's coming up now, that is very entitled. There are people I know in my life, and I shouldn't and I won't talk about them, but to say, there are people in professions that really should, like, there are people in difficult jobs who have chosen difficult jobs that are not equipped to do those jobs
Yeah.
and are being given those jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it would be impolitic to not give them those jobs, because then it would be a discrimination thing. So,
Sure.
for example, a job that is very, very reliant on your people skills, your ability to communicate well, to not make a situation escalate, to be able to deal kindly or with empathy or with patience, to deal with volatile emotions, all those sorts of things. Unless you've read every book, if you are on the spectrum, some of those things are things that will come with difficulty. Empathy often is not that much of an issue for people with autism. They do get empathy. But there are other things that they might, if someone on the spectrum has a very clear moral boundary and they are then interacting with people who cross that boundary, it might be part of your job to actually keep the peace, not to enforce that boundary. Your job might actually be to let something slide because it would keep the peace.
Yeah.
Those people are, I don't know why they're choosing to do this. I don't know why we're talking about the police. I don't know why I'm hedging around it so much. There are reasons why I'm hedging around it, but yeah. So there are people in and you get the idea.
I do.
But all that to say, it does feel like there is a generation that feels like, well, you as an employer should bend to what I want.
Yeah.
Because I know, snowflake, whatever, right? But there is a little bit of that. And that, I think part of that, or so much of that, comes from, we don't have that clear. The line of, the idea of the teenager was invented in the 60s or 50s or 60s, didn't exist before. And it feels like that boundary into adulthood is being pushed further and further and further back. And that's great. Like, we should be youthful. And, I hope that in 10 years' time, 60 will be the new 50, will be the new 40, And so, I can keep pushing off death.
You can keep pushing off death by listening to my podcast. Brendan teaches you how to eat, starting in January.
Yes. Thank God for that. But yeah, no one teaches how to be men. No one teaches women how to be women. But I think they probably do. But like you said, exactly to your point, they get taught how to be women to protect them from men.
Yeah.
And yes, we need initiation. If only we had, like, I don't know, like a system that was like educated people.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Like, you can get a whole bunch of us together in a room.
Okay.
And teach them things.
In a class setting, like in
a class setting, if you will.
A classroom could be it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could call it a classroom.
Okay.
All right. We're being impossible.
And there could be somebody that teach. Yeah.
You're like, yeah. Okay. But yeah, like, that feels like something that might be useful. Is like, you're about to leave school. Like, graduation means more than, let's pack you off into the capitalist system.
Yeah.
Like, here's how to be a person. Like, the amount of things that are on TikTok and various other places of like, I wished someone had told me this.
Yeah.
Because we don't get taught the things we actually need to know. And I know there are certain things we need to know. This, whatever. There's so many life things we don't get taught about how to actually function in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I don't know, teaching men how not to hate women, or teaching not to hate. That would be wonderful.
Or fucking wood shop or automotive class, or knowing how to take care of food and planting your own food, like having a garden, like homewares. There's so many very practical and useful things that we could use, but that's not good for capitalism.
No.
And that's not the point of schools. It's not for our betterment. It's to make more cogs. Your story about the qualifications for people in different jobs reminds me of a story I heard from a friend who has been teaching teaching at in the theater department at UCLA for the past decade now, and he can clearly see the degradation of physical skills from when he started to now. Like, people no longer know how, not even how to use a screwdriver, like a hand drill, but could even pick one out of a lineup or have any capacity or interest to learn how to use them. It's like they're just dead fish lying there. They do not care at all. They just want to be, I guess, on their phones or what. I don't know. It's sad. It's really sad. And apparently there's also a big new wave of ultra right wing Gen Zers. Like, that's a thing now. They're like super radicalized, and that like the trend is not going in the progressive direction.
I got so over my skis this morning, or just like tied up in knots. I was just thinking about, because I don't know if you heard the news that The Onion bought InfoWars.
The Onion has money, and okay, the Onion bought InfoWars,
but they also,
I mean, the Onion is still around. Like, whenever I see the Onion come up, it's like this article from 10 years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, that's so cute. But okay, cool. So the Onion has money.
They
bought InfoWars.
They worked with the victims of Sandy Hook, who were defamed by Alex Jones. So Alex Jones has had to pay an insane amount of money. Like, I think the number begins with a B amount of money, which he doesn't have. So in order to pay it, he's had to go bankrupt, or declare bankruptcy, go bankrupt. He's had to declare bankruptcy. And so in bankruptcy court, the Onion, paired with the victims of Sandy Hook that were defamed, I guess as part of the settlement, perhaps, have bought InfoWars.
Wow. Okay.
And I watched this unveil in almost real time.
I had a whole roller coaster of emotions going through that, because I was like, why would they give money to Alex Jones? But then, the money's not going to them; it's going to the Sandy Hook people. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And then, oh wow, that's a heartwarming story.
Yeah, and I had to listen to a couple of fence sitters.
Ouch.
One of whom I admire quite a lot. Talk about, like, for me, the correct response to that is, lol. That's funny. And that'll annoy some people, and that's great. That's like cool. And now what's for breakfast? Like, that's the right response. But they were chewing over it and like, is it really? Do we really want to, like, take all these MAGA people and show them other stuff? And it's like, no, you're missing the point. It was just lols. It's just for lols. And it has to be okay, because I'm sick and tired, really fucking sick and tired of us legitimizing viewpoints that fucking suck. Yeah. And we, as the smart people, we're not allowed to be like, no, you don't get to say that, because we are held to a higher standard. We are held to the standard of supposedly, allowing free speech. And every fucking MAGA-hatted jerk is going to go, free speech, free speech. And Alex Jones went off on his whole thing yesterday when he was big, sweaty, fucking pustulant mess, live streaming to every fucking cretin who'll watch, going, it's a free speech, free speech, free speech. And you and I have had all the conversations about fucking free speech. Yeah. But we, as the smart, compassionate people, are supposed to not suppress the speech. But at the same time, what we keep doing is we keep legitimizing these viewpoints by saying, well, we must be whatever to them. And it's like, no, they have to be told that they're wrong. Yes. When did we stop telling people that they're fucking wrong and they need to grow up? Like, we have to get over this idea that somehow, because we're liberals or whatever, that we're not allowed to tell people off and go, no, you're not allowed to say those things. If you have those thoughts, they remain in your head, because there are certain things that if you type them into the internet, police will come knocking on your door, and that is an appropriate response. If I type certain things into the internet, people are going to come at my door and saying, why are you typing those things into the internet?
Yeah.
Yes, slippery slope, free speech, fucking yelling fire in a crowded theatre. Fine, all of it. But at some point, we have to be able to say, no, you cannot be Googling, you cannot harbor these ideas. You cannot allow these ideas to spread, because that is why we're in the situation we are in now. We give the ideas oxygen, and we have to be able to live in a society where those ideas don't get oxygen, but we still have debate. How the fuck do we do that?
We suffocate them with THC like the monkeys.
There you go.
No more
and as
oxygen.
always,
yes, please correct us if we're wrong. I have a.
That felt righteous. That felt so good.
That was great. That was a great rant, dude. I had a little comment. We get the free speech to tell them that they're fucking stupid and wrong.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, to reiterate a bit of our many discussions on free speech stuff. It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid to even make an argument against it. It's because there's nothing to argue against, because we have the freedom to criticize our government. Like, that's what freedom of speech is. And otherwise, we can say whatever we want. And then we can also say you shouldn't say that when it's something that's harmful and incorrect. And it isn't removing somebody's free speech by telling them they shouldn't say things that are harmful and inaccurate. It's just another thing to say. That's another freedom that we have. We can call those people out. And like I like the idea that those harmful messages and thoughts would be eliminated and not be able to be propagated, so that those ideas could die. But also, like, I feel like that's attacking the symptom and not the problem. And the slippery slope argument of like, well, then where's the line that we police free speech at? Because that would be policing free speech. Just like we do have, like you said, fire in the theater is something we cannot say unless it's truthful, or we can get arrested. You mentioned there's certain things I could type into Google and then police would show up and they'd be like, why did you say that thing? I was like, in that wonderful cartoony scenario where they're just like, hey, why did you say that thing? Like, at least that's a conversation, and it could be like, oh, I really thought this. And they could be like, well, you're dumb. That's actually this. And they could be like, oh, okay, I will change my mind because I learned a new thing. That's maturity. That's, going back to my argument that men are the problem and men have to be the solution. It's the same. Like, women aren't doing that. For the most part.
I don't know. I when I say I don't know, that's me. That's not me pushing back. It's just me saying I don't know. I know some stubborn ass women.
Of course. Not all women, not all men.
Yeah. And it is so tricky because you have that whole thing of you can't treat the symptom with facts. And actually, this was another. I think it was Alex Falcone video had talked about, I think, this in the wake of I will call it the Democrat loss rather than the Trump win, just because I don't know. That one of the reasons, and I think this is smart and cogent, one of the reasons the right wins is because they play on feelings, and feelings are what win. Facts don't win. They don't tweak us in our brain, because one of the things is, like, if you've ever had one of those conversations with the people who performatively pretend to believe that the earth is flat because they don't have a personality and they need attention, the more you try to explain to them, we know, the more you try and show them things, the more they dig in, the more they dig into that belief that they pretend to have. And so you can't fight facts with facts. You have to fight them with feelings, it seems. And the problem is, again, because we are held to this higher standard, because we think we're smarter, that the way to do this is to use information, is to use data. Well, actually, if you look at the facts, you'll find... And it's like, that's not what moves people's needle. People are moved by stories. People are moved by emotion.
Yeah.
And if we can do that in a way, like the right did with Brexit, like the right did with lots of things, the right does it with fear. What's the emotion that we can counter that with? Because if facts isn't going to do it, because again, can't fight fear with facts, fear's a feeling. What feeling can we fight fear with? And
from fear to love.
That was the word that came to my mind.
Yeah.
And so maybe, as much as I went on my big sweaty red-faced gammon rant, do you have gammon in America?
I don't know.
No, I didn't think so. Didn't feel like it's like really thick ham.
Oh, yummy.
I find it too salty. Anyway, we describe certain people here in the UK as being gammon because they get all
they're thick ham,
red-faced and sweaty, and they're usually people on the right, so they're called gammons. From the Spanish jamón. We fighting it with love. Yeah, as much as I did go on my big rant, wouldn't it be wonderful to find a way? And this is a question, like, does love mean acceptance? And then what does acceptance mean when you're accepting
intolerance
people who are, I'm not going to say they're bad, but they've been taught bad things, they've taught to believe bad things, and they've been whipped up into a state where they fervently believe that the world will be better if these certain things happen. How do we fight that with love? There's my question to you. You have 30 seconds, go. Because if you don't know, we're fucked. Because I feel like accepting another human being, that's like, that has to be the first step.
Yeah.
You can't love someone you don't accept.
The thing that comes to mind is listening.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about my XOXO experience where I was ostracized from the group because of some questions that I asked and how I asked them. A big reason why I was kicked out of that group was because I was offering to give a platform to somebody who labeled themselves as conservative, and that conservative people should no longer have a platform. They should not be listened to. It's their time to listen.
I love that, by the way, that phrase. It's their time to listen. I just want to say that. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it's super, like, yes, but in order to get there, if you think back to 12 seconds ago when you just interrupted me with a thing, if you can you think about how difficult it is to listen to somebody when you have something you really want to say? Like, this isn't calling you out. This is just
no.
Like, this is just the way it is.
Yes.
When we have something that's burning in us that we want to say, and these people do, then it is really hard to take something in, especially when it's countering that message. They need to be able to express it first and feel heard, feel understood, so that they're not feeling this anxiety, this need to push because they have to get it out. The first step is really listening to the hard truths of their experience.
Yes,
because it's not
disenfranchisement.
Yeah,
because they legitimately. I love this so much. Thank you, Brendan. I knew you'd find it.
It took me longer than 30 seconds, but I got there.
You fucking did. They have been, and it's not just them. We have all been. Lots of us are in different ways stepped on. They feel they have been stepped on and crushed underweight.
Yeah.
The problem is, the people who are doing the stepping are pointing over there and saying it to the people doing the stepping.
Yeah.
And I love that. You're absolutely right. Because yes, like that's the thing to remember is their grievances, and this is what I think does get missed so much. I think it's so important, actually. Thank you. The grievances are legitimate, and I remember that from the whole when this all came up in 2016. How could anyone ever vote for Trump? And it's like because the left neglected this whole, like, from my understanding, like midsection of America, like Middle America, the heartland of America.
Yeah.
There was this feeling that the liberal elite were just ignoring them because they were focusing on the edges. They were focusing on East Coast, West Coast, where the money was.
Big cities,
big cities, and not looking at America's heartland. And so all these people felt disenfranchised, felt let down. There is a very, very difficult question about, like, how bad is your situation that's the guy you vote for? But that's a question of understanding, and it's also a question of listening. But I really like that because it then requires the invitation for them to take their telescope and point it in a different direction. Rotate it 90 degrees and say, or probably 180 degrees actually, and say, the people with the megaphone, the people who are shouting the loudest about who the problem is, let's look at them. Because, here are some, have you thought about this, and doing so in a way that doesn't sound as fucking condescending as I just sounded then. Like, sure. Have you thought about this? It's like,
well, so I would say that after listening, the next step would be repeating back.
Yes.
And making sure that, like, demonstrating that you listened and understood.
And heard and understood, yes.
Yeah. And that's the introduction to compassion. That's the introduction to understanding.
Yeah. With the repeating back is also going, that sucks. That situation that you're in sucks. And I'm sorry that you're in that situation.
Yes.
Like
showing compassion, showing feeling about that situation, and not feelings, not negative feelings of inclusion, feelings of
and not immediately trying to fix it, but to actually sit with it and go, oh, that's awful, man. That's shitty that your farm, the subsidies that you were getting for your farm are like or whatever,
that you were let down by the system.
Yeah.
That
or some people moved in and the neighborhood changed and this and that, like, and you don't feel safe. Like, doesn't matter what the reasons are, you don't feel safe. That sucks, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, whether they're legitimate or not, that's their feeling, that's their position. And yes, that needs to be understood and acknowledged and felt by others. The other thing I think, and this isn't as much on the individual basis, but is super necessary if we're going to make change, and we should get on this, is the destruction of capitalism. Taking money out of because I'm thinking about the people, not just the Alex Joneses, but like the conservative, ultra conservative side of things. Like, there's so much money in that, and they're only continuing. They only have the platform they do and continuing to do it because they are getting so much money. Like, I was thinking, like, oh, what if we went to
Ben Shapiro?
Sure, yeah. If we go to a Ben Shapiro and be like, compassionately listen to his offering and repeat it back and share understanding and emotion. Best case scenario, that is impactful for him, and then the conversation continues and good things come from it. His livelihood is based on what he's already doing. So he's just going to keep doing that, most likely.
Yes, because, and that's the thing, as you were describing it and saying, like, let's talk to his grievances, I was thinking, I don't know if his grievances are authentically, like, the things that he is espousing.
Yeah.
I don't see that
he's espousing the talking points. Like, he has no attachment to them. It's just the message that he's paid to propagate.
Yeah. There is a thing filtered through Merlin Mann that is something along the lines of, don't count on someone understanding something if their pay packet relies on them not understanding it. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know, if it pays, if that's what they're, you know, because outrage sells.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we said, feelings sell, and fear sells more, and anger sells more. You know, because they're just more visceral. You know, I went to see a spectacular horror film on Wednesday night in the cinema. You know, I will go and see horrors in the cinema more than other films because it's, you know, it's more viscerally appealing. It's difficult to talk to those mouthpieces because they're
not actually feeling the problem.
No.
Yeah.
No. They're just, it's, you know, whatever their paymaster feels. And I've seen that the other way around as well. I've seen that because, you know, as much as we've talked about freedom of speech and you know, that stuff, there is a censorship problem to a degree with a certain type of liberal person who doesn't allow a certain level of speech that, like you said, you've come across with the XOXO problem.
Exactly. And it's not just a conservative problem. It's a...
No, it's not. I've seen this with the McElroy brothers. It feels like their existence on the internet is so on a knife edge.
Yeah.
Because if they you know, the lengths they went to. So they have a podcast called My Brother and Me, and back in 2020, somewhere through that, they ripped out their theme tune that they'd been using for nearly 10 years.
Right.
And it was because John Roderick, the musician behind the theme song, the band anyway.
The Long Winters.
John of the Long Winters said something on Twitter that got some people a little bit annoyed. It wasn't racist. It wasn't particularly sexist. It wasn't sexist. It wasn't homophobic. It wasn't transphobic. It was a joke about his daughter not being able to operate a can opener.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I never even heard what the thing was. That was it?
Mm-hmm.
The fuck?
Yeah. He made a joke about how his daughter didn't know how to operate a bean can, a can opener, and so he was being dad. Oh, the look on your face! Oh my God! Yeah. Brendan looks like he's just taken a spoonful of bad beans.
I mean, I used to listen to John and Merlin on their podcast, and like, he always felt really, you know, sensible, mature, interesting, rational. And I didn't stop listening because of that controversy, but I did. It was around the time I was already kind of fading out, and I was like, okay, I guess he's problematic now. But I never heard the thing. But that's not problematic.
No, it's not. But it was and it just so happened I can understand the fading out because it was not that much time had passed since Merlin's other podcast had to be, you know, massively curtailed because Max Temkin.
Max Temkin did. He
actually was problematic.
He was very problematic. Yeah. I remember there being an article a while back, like 6 years ago or something, about how the word problematic is problematic because it's not specific enough. It's a generalization. Oh, yeah. And I think that's kind of funny, but I still like to use the word problematic because it's a fun word.
Problematic. So being
extrinsically.
I love you so much. The McElroys, the week that happened, ripped out the theme song from their podcast and hastily put up a copyright infringing song, a song that they did not have the rights to, but Griffin put some new lyrics to and made his own version of it. Still not a melody he owned, but that was preferable than angering the millennial / Gen whatever who are so averse to anything that might look like outrage that quickly ripped it out. And then they got, you know, eventually they got a new song and it took them like a couple of months. And they never really talked about it. And because I remember asking, my friend, like, what's going on? Oh, yeah, Bean Dad. Like, they've gone off on these tirades sometimes about certain actors or certain people. And you're like, okay, all right, they said a thing once that was, you go, it's maybe a little off color.
Yeah.
You don't need to go off on a whole thing about like Rowan Atkinson, for example. I can't remember what Rowan Atkinson did, but apparently now, if you're part of the McElroy clan, if you're a big fan of that, apparently we all hate Rowan Atkinson now.
See, yeah,
he's one of the
the gathering of hate. Like that's just it's intolerance.
Yeah. And so exactly as you said, like the left are guilty of it too.
Completely.
I'm sure I had a really good point about that.
You made a great point.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Good boy sticker.
But actually, to that point, like I wonder whether the McElroys, like again, it's the same thing. If you ask them, you must have been really deeply impacted because of your reaction. You must have been deeply impacted by Bean Dad. They'd be like, no, it's just our audience would would stop listening and all our advertising dollars would disappear.
Yeah.
So we have to, and it's like, how amazing would it be to hold the line and go, lads, lasses, everyone in between, we're all adults. Let's have a quick conversation about this because you all have got your knickers in and your other garments in twists. Wow, trying to be gender neutral, amazing. It fucks idioms. It really does. It fucks all your idioms.
You're such underwear inclusive, Mark. I love it.
They fuck you in the idiom. Lethal Weapon reference. Okay. How amazing would it have been if they'd have like sat their audience down, turned their chair around and sat on it backwards like the cool teachers do?
Yeah.
And been like, kids, you need to stop being so sweaty. Like it's okay. You need to calm down. Someone said a thing and it upset you because you're young and he attacked a young person. He didn't attack you. And also context. She's his daughter, yada, 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 all the things.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good? Can I turn my chair around the right way now?
Yeah. It's not even a group of people. It's not even like, oh, young people today can't do it.
It was. Oh, God. I think what happened is they saw the Bean Dad thing and then the internet does what the internet loves to do, which is let's all be investigators and go back through the tweets to find something that we can point at and go.
Yeah. I feel like I heard that part. Yeah. Which is like also people evolve over time. They're just tweets. And like,
I don't agree with things I said yesterday, let alone 10 years ago.
I love that, dude. Oh, I love you so much.
I nearly got to this point a while back where I was like, I'm not a centrist. I know where my politics lie in terms of what I think is right, but I cannot and will not align myself with a like I can't do it. This whole conversation has made me realize it's fucked on both sides.
Yeah,
and there isn't a correct side. There's only principles.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh.
There's only the collection of principles we uphold. Some of them we share, some of them we don't. I know some people who are fiscally incredibly liberal and believe in the social safety net, but also don't like trans people. Well, we know like black and gay and Latino people who voted for Trump. There's a whole Reddit thing that I've discovered recently called Leopards Ate My Face, which is quite the thing. Are you aware of that?
Aware of the leopard?
Yeah. Are you aware of the subreddit Leopards Ate My Face?
I'm not.
Okay. Do you have the expression turkeys voted for Christmas?
No, I've never heard that before.
Okay, all right. It's the same kind of idea. It's basically, it's a bunch of the left finding tweets and Reddit posts and other things from the right who voted for Trump and are now seeing the bad shit that affects them that they didn't realize was going to affect them.
I used to follow Trump regrets feed on Twitter,
and so you get it. Yeah. It's that. And I think it's like leopards. It must be something like I brought this leopard into my house and then this leopard ate my face. It's like, yep. It's like a horse in a what is it? It's like a horse in a hospital. You know that bit, surely.
I don't know that bit.
Oh my God! Watch John Mulaney's. It's a 2016 or 2017 John Mulaney special where he's describing the basically Trump in the White House, equating it to a horse being let loose in a hospital.
Oh, okay, that does sound familiar. I think I have seen that.
You can. I'm sure you can YouTube it. It's a very YouTubeable bit. It's a very good bit. It was a bad John Mulaney impression, but that will stand.
That will be okay.
Oh man, I genuinely feel so good about this because it's like that's the framework.
We solved it.
I think. Yeah, we have. I think the problem is like when you start going listening, it's like and like you said, like it's other people's time to listen, but actually the thing for me where I really connected is that moment I described when you hear someone's pain and you go, that sucks that you feel that. And not in a condescending, not in a passive aggressive, I'm sorry you feel that way kind of way, but genuinely connecting with that emotion because that's raw, that's real, that's the thing that is unvarnished by anything else. You don't feel, and it's usually you don't feel safe. I think that's almost always the thing is you don't feel safe.
Validate their feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you can connect on that, if you can fuse on that, I think it then you can really interrogate that feeling and go, what is it actually? And maybe have a conversation of like, like you said, like, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't feel like that because you do. But I want to put it, or I want to have, like, is it worth having the conversation that the source of those feelings is not what you've been told it is?
Right.
You are right to feel those feelings, and you're right to feel unsafe or whatever. Like, not you're right, but you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
you're entitled to those feelings 100%, and I'm not going to deny those. Where we differ and where I'd love us to come to an accord is it possible that someone's pushing those buttons and is telling you you're feeling that because of something that isn't the case, and maybe you can open a dialogue that way. But it connects with those that core feeling thing, which feels like a very mediatory thing. And I know a mediator, I know a very good one, and it would be fascinating to have that conversation with them. Actually,
yeah, I love that, dude. And well, as always, correct us if we're wrong, because we said some things.
But we don't agree with them, and we forgot what we said.
Yeah, we don't. I don't agree with the stuff I said on this podcast. No, I really do. I saw our friend Randy in the Felt. I saw him in the Felt.
Actually, I didn't realize you'd seen him. I thought you were just booking to see him.
In person last night.
Oh, wow. You saw the Felt in the face.
I saw the Felt in the face. Tell me all about that. Oh, my God. It was so funny. I lost myself laughing. I love that for you. Yeah. It was just fantastic. His bit for this tour is like tracing all of humanity's problems back to the first banana that was ever created, and he has a really funny like trajectory around that whole thing. And he had a prop banana that he would bring up, and the crowd would go crazy for it, and it was really funny. He did a lot of local work, did a little bit of crowd work, but then he kept calling back to that crowd work throughout the entire set, which just felt hilarious that it would just fit in wherever he wanted. And I could kind of see how he's developed, not like a bit of Mad Libs, but like he asks specific questions when he's doing his crowd work, and those then fill in specific spots that are appropriate in later jokes. But whether it's Mad Libs or not, like he's still doing it, and it's fucking hilarious. He even called back to his opener's act in a really crude joke. That was one of her best jokes. Oh my God. The whole experience was fascinating. Like I obviously I understand he's a puppet, but
sure,
when you get into it and you're just laughing along with all of these crazy jokes, it was just a person up there. Like it was just a live character.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And me and my friend who went, we got there late because we came right after our men's group together, and we were like the second to last people in the door. And so we were like really far off to the side. So we could see his hand moving the puppet every, couple minutes, because he would like turn around and do stuff. He would like point to the back wall and put his hands up, like on the wall and stuff. And so we could see his hand moving the little sticks, and it didn't break anything. Like it didn't, like, it's like, oh yeah, he's a person, but it's fucking Randy. Oh my God. And there's one awesome bit where he's talking about auditioning to be a puppeteer for a live action Alien directed by Ridley Scott from a couple of years ago, and the whole process that he went through to like do this stunt routine as the audition that he had to do like 12 times in a row when he was feeling really sick. Like he had to wear this 50-kilogram vest to weight him down, and then he had to wear the giant alien head, which is shaped like a banana, and had like a video screen on the inside because it's opaque, and with a little camera on the front so that he could see while he's looking around. And it's like super difficult routine, but he memorized the routine, or he at least he has a skit of what the routine is, and it was like dodge left and then take 2 bullets and then hop up on this platform and then take a couple punches and then reach out this way and then climb up the stairs, and so he kept going through that routine every time he had to go through the routine in his story. And then at some point he projectile vomits into the mask and falls over and breaks the mask, which is supposed to be like really expensive. Yeah. And he's like, I didn't get the part. And then I went to the hospital, and it turns out I had a growth on my pancreas, or spleen, a growth on an organ that I had to be in the hospital for 6 weeks while they surgically removed it. And then I had the healing process. And it was not lost on me that I had a parasite while trying to audition to be a parasite in my stomach while I was trying to audition to be an alien. So it was so great. It was heartily co-sign going to see him live. What a trip. in my men's group right before that had this wonderful moment where we were all talking about bettering ourselves and this and that, and I'm kind of known as this guy that has a lot of ideas about all that stuff.
You're the guy.
The director of the group mentioned something about cults and like how I can't remember exactly what he said, and then I was like, yeah, some of my friends have hinted that they think I'm going to start a cult because of this and that. And then a friend in there chimed in. He's like, I'd join your cult. And I was like, no, dude, no, don't give me ideas. I already have followers. So no. But that was really heartwarming.
Watch Heretic when you get the chance. Watch Heretic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that if I really should. Okay, there's a $6.50 matinee on Tuesdays, so I think I'll do that since you.
Honestly, it's just a great film anyway. But when it got to the end, I was like, or even like, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through, I was like, fucking, this is a Brendan and Mark conversation.
Oh, great. Okay.
Much.
I'll do it this week.
So good. It's so good.
Cool.
But it's like, as it's a great film, and his performance is magnificent in it.
Amazing.
He is in his like chewing up the scenery. He's having a great time. Brilliant performances all round. But then also there's this extra layer of this is a Convergence film. One for the Convergence Film Club.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay.
Yep.
I will do that. I've got 4 kind of options here I'm thinking about. Okay. Free speech. Men are the problem. Marshmallow. And From Fear to Love.
Okay.
I liked your reaction from Men are the problem. Now you're trying to keep like a stone face. I don't do. Is any one of these kind of resonating more for you? Because I kind of like them all.
So to pick them off, Marshmallow feels maybe too, because I did think that might be a possibility. It feels maybe too silly.
Yeah.
Men Are the Problem feels maybe too
heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah.
From Fear to Love feels a little bit too on the nose from what I did last time. That's just for me.
Sure.
But, you know,
I get that.
What was the other one?
Free speech.
Free speech. Could have some fun with free speech.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, we could have some fun with free. Let's do free speech.
I've got it. I've got what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
All right, let's do it. Free speech.
Oh, lovely. You also made me think of something. It was when you said like tick, check, destroy capitalism. I'm gonna have to do this now because it was a great idea and I didn't stick with it. Good, fucking, that's me.
That's not you. Oh my god! That is you. Sorry.
What an incredible 180! That's not you. I thought you were being kind. I was like, oh, he's so supportive and sweet. No, that's you.
I'm sorry that I gave you false hope.
How dare you accurately? Anyway, the thing I did for a while was daily funny, and it's so weird that like I've kind of come full circle again. But I would write funny to-do lists. One of them was like it was just two. It was two ones. It was like two lines. The first tick box was "Wake up, George," and the second one was "Go," which is wake me up before you go.
Nice.
Just stupid things like that. Yeah, I just thought I should resurrect that because that'll be fucking hell. Oh dear,
what's that?
Very aggressive play.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like that's exactly the kind of shit that I need to be putting out on the gram for the podcast, but it's also quite funny and quite fun. So yeah, coming up with silly fun to-dos like slide to the left, tick, slide to the right, crisscross, everybody clap your hands, tick. And they're just stupid things like that and just put them on Instagram. So
that's great.
Turning ideas. Anyway, all right, cool. Right, good. Should I hit stop?
Yeah, I think we can now.
Are we finished?